Welcome back. Our third video on factorising trinomials. Now we get a little bit more fiddly. Takes a little bit more thinking. Okay, I'm not going to deal with this as FOIL. Those who use FOIL can do it. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is a plus 3x. Minus 2 times x is a minus 2x. Minus 2 times a 3 is a minus 6. So this is the interesting part here, is we end up with a minus 6. Why do we end up with a minus 6? So when we multiply those two numbers, one is negative, one is positive, so we end up with a negative. And we can use the words negative and subtraction interchangeably. So let's have a look what happened here in between. We subtracted the 3 and the 2. So we've got an x squared, 3x take 2x is just 1x, and we don't have to write the 1. And we've got a minus 6. So this minus here tells us that these two signs in the two brackets are different. So one has to be a negative and one a positive, one a subtraction, one an addition. Now you've got to be careful this time which one you write with, otherwise you'll get the wrong answer. So let's go to this question here, which is obviously the same question. How can I get a 6? I can get a 1 and a 6 or a 2 and a 3. So really if you wanted to, I have had students over the years that will go like this, and they'll put the x times the x they know is x squared, and then they'll write in the two possibilities, or actually in reality you can get 4 of them because you can go minus there or minus there. So go back to this says, it has to be different signs. Personally I prefer to just put a minus there and a minus there and see what happens. You can talk about it more as you get the hang of it and there's more shortcuts, but you don't want all the shortcuts straight away, they take a while. Let's have a look at what we've got. So this one I could go minus 1 plus 6 is 5. So that's no good to me because I want a 1. Minus 2 plus 3. So it's two numbers that multiply to minus 6 that we can add to 1. There's lots of different ways of saying that, and your teacher might say it's slightly different, but let's have a look for a moment. If I wrote them as a minus there, I can go minus 2 plus 3 adds to 1. So then I've got a minus 2 plus a 3. Some people will say, let's have a look at those two there, remove that negative, and say they've got a difference of 1. This is different, so when they say the word different, they'll say it's got a difference of 1. So what's the difference of 1 and 6? 6 take 1 is 5, 3 take 2 is 1, but you still have to think about it and say, what did I actually say? I said 3 take 2. So I do tend to prefer to put that one on there, and I'll do that for the rest of them and see what happens. Two numbers that multiply to 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. That tells us they have to be different. So one of them has to be negative, either that one has to be negative, I could write out the other possibility, or that one has negative. So we're going to now look at our brackets. Still going to have x squared, and then you're going to either have a 1 and a 10 or a 2 and a 5. Let's have a look at this pair. Minus 1 plus 10 would be 9. This one is. Minus 2 plus 5 would be 3. So we know it's because of that 3, we know it has to be the 2 and the 5. So if we go a 2 and a 5 here, trouble is we got a positive 3 when we actually wanted to get a negative 3. So the negative was on the wrong spot. So let's write it again. If I wrote that as 2 times 5 and I put the negative there, then I'm going to go 2 take 5 is minus 3. So there are lots of little, one annoying thing sometimes about algebra, there's so many ways to think about it, but basically it works all the same in the long run. So what have we got? I've got a positive for the 2 and I've got a negative for the 5. Let's have a look at the next one. Two numbers that multiply to 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and like I said, I prefer just to say, let's put a negative on there because we know it has to have 1 negative. There's our 1 negative. Let's have a look and see which one work and if they work. So two brackets, an x and an x has to give us the x squared. Minus 1 plus 15 would be 14. Minus 3 plus 5 would be 2. But that would give us this one would give us a positive 2. So we don't want that one. We want 3 times minus 5, and that would give us a 3 minus 5 is a negative 2. And there's so many shortcuts. One of the shortcuts is the bigger of the two numbers gets that sign. So what was bigger? Was 3 bigger or 5 bigger? The 5 is bigger, so the 5 gets the negative. So the 5 gets the negative, which becomes a subtraction, and the 3 gets the positive. One more, just for good measure, go back to what we've previously done. This one would say they have to be this time the same. So you can get a 1 and an 8 and a 2 and a 4. Which one of those adds up to 6? Obviously the 2 and the 4. So you're back to the x and the x. And we've got a 2 and a 4. And then it's like, hello. This is like calling out to you and says 2 negatives. I often just say 2 negs. So we've got a negative and a negative. And that covers all of our basics on them. I think next I'll make a mixture and just make sure you're okay.